Hey guys, Grifton here, and today we are talking about Phase 5 gear. This will include Magisters Terrace, both regular and heroic, somewhat plateau, badge gear, and some smaller things in between. Before we begin, I want to remind you that this is my opinion and you're welcome to disagree in the comments below. These videos do take some time to put together, so I'd really appreciate it if you took the time to like and subscribe, as it does help me out. Okay, let's get into it. First, we have Magisters Terrace regular. Leggings of the Trade for level 79 heroic. This is really good. With 3 gem slots, you're able to stack 56 agi on some blue pants, or if you want stamina, 70 stamina. That is nuts. Now there's obviously a better out there, but if you're fresh 70 looking to upgrade, this is going to be it. Next is Band of Determination, another great level 70 fresh item. It doesn't have defense like Violet's Signet, but it does have a big chunk of armor, a lot of stamina and expertise, which is great for tanks. Fresh 70s will want to get this if they can fit it into their gear, especially if you're feeling a little squishy. Next we have Cloak of Blade Turning. This might be the most armor on a cloak. It's just over Gilded Thorium, which is my current highest. It has a decent amount of stamina, but instead of defense like the other two, it has resilience. Now, resilience can be very good. This is going to give you much more crit immunity than the other two cloaks. However, defense also gives you miss and dodge, so if you're already crit immune, the extra isn't going to help you, so the other two cloaks are likely going to serve you better. Though this isn't bad at all, and it drops in a regular, which means you could farm this all day if you wanted to. Next we have the Sunrage Treads. Now I'm going to compare these to the badge boots, the Ninja Tabby boots. Ninja has 1 more agi and 7 less stamina. Now Ninja does have 2 sockets to the 1, which is very strong, but the AP is about the same, and the Sunrage has a good chunk of armor pen, which you can't get from gems. Now for a non-heroic, these are just so good. If you're going armor pen cat set, these are some really nice boots, but if you're a bear, I'd stick with Den Mother or Shadow Masters. Next we have Band of Celerity. So I've made it clear I'm not a fan of haste sets, but if you're a haste stacker, this might be a good ring for you, but honestly I'd just pass on it. So many good rings out there. I also included Enchant Cloak Steel Weave. Now this actually drops from both regular and heroic. It's a nice way to get over the crit cap, but if you're not struggling with crit immunity, the 12 agi is still going to serve you better. Okay, let's move on to Magisters Terrace heroic. First item is Commendation of Kalthus. That's just so much stamina. Now, if you like stamina trinkets, you're going to love this guy. So I mentioned I might wear a stam trinket in Somewhat Progression, just because everything slaps so hard. So I was planning on getting Dark Moon Fair card, but this guy would be great. 57 stamina, and if you drop low on health, it'll increase your dodge. Now, I wouldn't rely on the equip bonus, but it's nice to have when you really just want that big block of stamina. I'm definitely going to be farming this. Next we have Shard of Contempt. So this guy is crazy good for threat. I think the only better trinket would be the one in Sunwell due to more expertise, but this one isn't far behind. All the melee DPS want this. It's a 5-man heroic, so you can run this every day while you wait for the Sunwell one to drop. I'm going for this for sure. Last we have Shoulder Pads of the Silver Moon Retainer. No gem slots and just overall worse than most raid shoulders. If you're a fresh 70 with no tier, sure, why not, but beyond that, I wouldn't bother. Okay, now before we move into Somewhat Plateau, I want to point out an odd feature you're going to see, and that's this symbol between 2 items. In Sunwell, there are items that can be transmuted or changed into another piece. You just need the item and 1 sun mote. However, please note that the transmute only works in one direction. So you may see some rogues rolling on stuff that's clearly for a bear, and you may want to roll on rogue stuff. The arrow denotes the transmute direction. Alright, just want to get that out of the way. Alright, so let's get into Somewhat Plateau. First up is Kalecgos with the Tier Bracers Thunderheart Wrist Guards. Yes, get these. Now, the Resilience Bracers are now behind an arena rating, so this might be a great replacement. However, be sure to get crit immune in other places because obviously this doesn't have any. But that's it for Kalecgos. Let's go ahead and jump into Brutallus. So Brutallus has the tier belt, so I personally want the full 8-piece set, but Belt of 100 Deaths is so nice. However, you'll notice a lot of great pieces have expertise on them, so you won't be trapped in the Belt of 100 Deaths meta anymore. I'm going to be wearing these for sure in my final set, but if you still feel like you want to stick with that Belt of 100 Deaths, nothing wrong with that. Alright, next up is Collar of the Pit Lord. Holy stamina, this thing is nuts. If you're wearing Brooch of Deafness, you might want to snag this guy up. It has more expertise, and though you do lose the hit, the combination of defense and stamina makes it a much better tanky neck. Next we have Clutch of Demise, another neck. This isn't bad. For a tanky set, I'd take the Collar of the Pit Lord over this, and for threat, I'd likely grab Hardcorium Choker or stick with the Brooch of Deafness. So this kind of falls in the middle. Alright, that's it for Brutallus. Onto Felmyst. So Felmyst has your tier boots, tier with expertise. Yeah, I'm going for these. Of the tier pieces, I think these are my favorite, and it's tier, so yeah, you'll see this eventually regardless. Alright, next we have Leggings of the Immortal Knight. Great stats, 3 red gem slots for even more agi. Yeah, these are nuts. They have Armor Pen and Hit. These are likely best for Cat. This is also the first transmute item for us on the list, and what you could transmute them for is the next item, which is Leggings of the Immortal Beast. I want these bad. These scream bear. First, the armor, the stats, the good amount of Armor Pen, and 3 gem slots. Yeah, this is going to be high on my prio list for sure. Alright, so that's it for Felmyst. Let's move on to the Eradar Twins. First item is Crimson Paragon's Cover. The stamina is huge, and the expertise dodge combo is good balance. But not a high armor cloak like you'd like. If you can get crit immune without a resil or defense cloak, that extra stamina is probably going to be very tempting for you. Next we have Demon Tooth shoulder pads. Now, I have them paired up with the shoulder pads of Vehemence, which are also really good. But man, Demon Tooth shoulder pads are just so good. If I'm going to drop a tier slot, Blizzard better make it worth it, and they did not disappoint. Stats are all higher than tier, more armor, better gem slots, and Armor Pen. Yes, I am definitely going to be grabbing these. Next we have Cinderai Pendant of Triumph. I don't love this. Low stam, yeah, it has resil, but meh. Roach of Deafness probably is better. I mean, anything probably is better. Alright, next is Band of Ruinous Delight. This has a decent stam, 161 Armor Pen on a ring. I would take this for a cat set, but it screams DPS, and though I'd still want it for a threat set, you're likely low prio. Honestly, I think this is the 4th Armor Pen ring available. So, I mean, if you're going for Armor Pen, you can grab this, but there are other options. Next, we have Stanchion of Primal Instinct. Oh, this thing is garbage. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, this is a great staff. The stats are huge. It has Armor Pen. You're giving up armor to get it. However, if you itemize right, you could be sitting at armor cap even without armor on the staff, so don't stress about it. Just get this thing. Alright, Eradar Twins over onto Muru. First item is Harness of Carnal Instinct. Now this is paired with your Bladed Chaos Tunic. So the Harness of Carnal Instinct is what you want, but rogues might be rolling against you because of the Bladed Chaos Tunic. This is another banger, just a minute to appreciate these things. Bear statted to the teeth, Armor Pen, 3 gems. I mean, this thing's going to look real nice next to your Demon Tooth shoulder pads, for sure. Get this 100%. Next up, we have Shadow Gauntlets of Paroxysm. You're probably wondering why am I talking about this? Gloves of the Forest Drifter are right there. And they're haste gloves, and I usually say pass on haste, but these have the highest agi in the game for gloves. So if you're going to meme like me and try to build out an avoidance set, you need these. These are the best. But for anyone that's not planning to do that, you'll still want to get these because you want to transmute them into the Gloves of the Forest Drifter, which we're talking about now. High armor, perfect bear stats, gem slots. This is going to sound so repetitive. Yep, you want this. Another obviously one made for bears. Next, we have Ring of Hardened Resolve. Now, out of the corner of your eye, you might see that block value and just move on, but take a look at this thing. It has decent armor, a ton of stamina, a huge defense rating of 32, almost 50% more than the Kara ring, and the big chunk of expertise. Now, I know this feels wrong, but I really like this ring. In fact, I plan to prio this. I recommend you do it too. Don't worry about your warriors and your paladins. There's tons of rings out there. But yeah, if you're looking for some replacements for the Violet Signet, this might be it. Next, we have Cinderai Band of Triumph. Now, this is a PvP ring with decent stats. I would argue there are much better rings, and I'm personally trying to move away from Resilience to prepare for Wrath. Alright, Blackened Naru Sliver, the first of the Sliver trinkets. Haste rating. The haste rating by itself is interesting, but the proc is really crazy. So I did a video on the type of trinkets, and this one falls into your threat trinket category. Now, this thing doesn't suck, but isn't as good as another trinket that drops here. I would take Shard of Contempt over this, but only barely. However, your DPS will likely prio this, leaving a different trinket right for the picking, and that is Steely Naru Sliver. 54 expertise is a ton. I can't say enough about this. This is going to be your biggest threat trinket. Now, in Sunwell, your priority probably isn't going to be a ton of threat. You're probably going to be wearing 2 defense trinkets, but if you are still doing old content, or once you get enough gear that you don't have to worry about, dying anymore, you're going to want this thing. So go ahead and add it to your prio list because, yeah, it's nice. Alright, that's it for Muru. On to Kil'Jaedon, the final boss of Sunwell Plateau. So first we have Cloak of Unforgivable Sin. Now, another haste cloak. I'm going to say this thing's good. If you compare it to Thalassian Wilder Cloak, you'll see though it slips a little on agility, it has more AP, a gem slot, and the haste isn't going to hurt. It's still going to help you. Now, if you're going for a threat cloak and you never got Thalassian, I'd take this, haste and all. Next, we have Duplicitous Guise. This helm is really nice. It's a huge bit of attack power and a lot of hit, which oddly becomes scarce again in P5. And I would take this if I didn't have anything better, but there is better, and that is the Mask of the Fury Hunter. The final piece of the God Mode set. This is another bear piece made for a bear with all the stats you want. However, I know a lot of people plan to not wear this because they want to keep their tier set bonus. So that is a choice you'll have to make, because this one does not have armor pen. So this would probably be the one where you would swap it out for something else. Okay, that's it for Sunwell. Let's move on to crafted items in Sunwell. So first we have Gloves of Immortal Dusk. This is probably going to be best in slot for cats. Doesn't require leatherworking, so if you're a fresh cat looking to get some nice pieces, you can pick this up probably in an auction house. Carapace of Sun and Shadow. Maybe cat. This is haste versus armor pen debate. If you're going haste, these are amazing, but you need leatherworking to wear them anyway. Next we have Hard Corium Band. This is the haste ring for cats. I personally take the 2 armor pen rings over this, but if you're a haste guy, here you go. Alright, the big one is Hard Corium Choker. Now, you do need jewel crafting for the haste and the armor pen, plus some AP. Really solid. If you don't need the hit from Endless Nightmare, I'd grab this for a cat set. Bears, there are better, but this is pretty solid. Next we have the Quad Deathblow X44 Goggles. Just so much agi, hit, attack power. This thing is solid and very helpful for avoidance sets. You need engineering for this though. I wouldn't put it above the 2 Sunwell pieces though for overall tanking or cat. Okay, moving on to badges. A lot of these pieces are going to be much more of a catch-up and will likely only bring you to around SSC level, but if you're planning a dual spec from healer or balance, this will be a quick way to gear, especially if you remember in Wrath you don't need defense. Okay, first we have Angelista's Revenge. Okay, I said these are catch-up, but this one is just really good. Armor Pen Ring, if you don't have the one from ZA, this is kind of a no-brainer for cat. For bear, this would be great threat set, but I probably wouldn't be wearing this in Sunwell Plateau. Next we have Ring of the Stalwart Protector. This ring I could see using in pre-patch as defense loses its value. It has the same armor as Violet Signet, more stamina, and instead of defense, it's just pure dodge. Not bad for a catch-up ring either, but likely not fitting into your current rating set. Next we have Hand Wraps of the Aggressor. Decent catch-up gloves. They don't beat the tier gloves, they fall behind the Sunwell gloves as well. If I was going for thick on a fresh 70, I might snag these, but I'd personally wear Expertise gloves over these. Next is Belt of the Silent Path. This has decent stats, but doesn't compete with Sunwell. Belt of 100 Deaths, or even the Hydro Belt. It's a good starter, especially with the gem slot there. Next is Embrace of Everlasting Prowess. Again, good stats, gem slot, but just not something you'd get unless you were fresh. Next is Tunic of the Dark Hour. Same as before, the hit does help though, probably good for a cat early on. Next is Tameless Breeches. Legs with 2 gems is actually pretty good. The stam's high. Yeah, of the catch-up pieces so far, I really like this one, just because you can pick it up on day 1, or whenever you get the badges. Next is Trousers of the Scryer's Retainer. Another 2 gem slot leg, not as much armor or stam, but hit. Probably your cat go-to for the fresh raiders. And last is Staff of the Forest Lord. A ton of stamina, decent stats. This one's actually pretty nice. If you're going armor pen, the ZA staff will probably be preferred. It's not beating stanchion, but might replace pillar if you don't need the armor, though if you're not in Sunwell gear, the armor is going to be helpful. And the last thing I want to talk about is the Sunwell Quartermaster has a neck called Shattered Sun Pendant of Might. This would be probably cat only, and even that, I don't think it's the greatest. If you can't get Corium neck and you don't have Telonicus, sure, why not? You can pick this up with just some reputation. Alright guys, that's everything in Phase 5 that I could find. If there's anything I missed, or if you have any questions or comments, throw them down in the comments and I will definitely try to respond. But yeah guys, get ready for Sunwell because it is coming and there is a lot here. Thanks for watching guys, and as always, take care.